Good day, everybody. Good day. And welcome to Morning Sip with revmelissa. And I am revmelissa, and SIP stands for Spirit and Practice. I am a ordained interfaith minister, a licensed religious science practitioner, and a certified life coach. And I say that Triune is my ministry of joy, where I support people in living life in joy, connected to your yes. So welcome, everyone. It's good to see you all. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to Morning Sip, y'all. Welcome to Morning Sip. I am revmelissa. And so we are in our shadow series. We're in our shadow series. And yesterday I shared how this series came to be. It was just like, it is going to happen. It is going to happen. And you can listen to yesterday's sip to hear how the shadow series came to be. But I keep getting more and more confirmations from the universe that the shadow series is the series. Right? So the confirmation I got yesterday, similar to the confirmation I got today, similar to yesterday, was from a reading in Mark Nepo's book. And so I just want to share the opening quote, just the opening quote, because it is so shadow. It is so about shadow. So just think about what I shared yesterday about what shadow is, and think of it in this context. Think about what I'm getting ready to read to you in the context of shadow. All right, so this is this morning's reading from today. Take a pitcher full of water and set it down in the water. Now it has water inside and water outside. We mustn't give it a name, lest silly people start talking about the body and the soul. So a lot of times we want to separate our shadow from who we are. But the shadow is a part of who we are. It's a part of who we are. And so the inner journey with the shadow is all about integration. Integrate all aspects of yourself. You don't want to leave nothing out. You don't want to leave any pieces, any parts of who you are out, because you know why? Because we're whole, right? And we could think about the shadow, as Parker Palmer says, as the hidden wholeness. There's a hidden wholeness. And when we leave the shadow out, we're in separation within ourselves, So I was just like, okay, universe, more confirmation. I am loving it. So remember, the shadow is sometimes viewed as the dark side, that unacceptable attribute, right? And we know that there's a collective shadow, and we have lived through the results of the projections of the collective shadow. You know, when we look at racism and all the inequality and the wars and slavery and the Holocaust, all of that is the collective shadow projecting itself out into the world, right? And so the most important thing that we can do, right? Because the shadow is there. Everyone has a shadow. There is no human being who doesn't have a shadow. So the most important thing that we can do is play it out intelligently. Play out the shadow intelligently. Yes? And so that's what the work is. That is what the work is. Carl Jung said one of his greatest insights was that the ego and the shadow come from the same source and exactly balance each other. To make light is to make shadow. One cannot exist without the other. So you can't have shadow without light, right? You won't see your shadow. Remember growing up as a little kid and the first time you saw your shadow? I know some folks were afraid of their shadows. I had some relatives that were afraid of their shadow, right? As little children, they were terrified of their shadow, right? But the shadow was cast because there was sun, there was light, there was light. So that is the invitation for this conversation, right? It's not about beating ourselves up about anything. It's about integration. It's about wholeness. Yes? All right. So that's our work, to integrate and to become aware of when our shadow is rearing its head. And I'm not saying rearing its ugly head, because it ain't ugly. It ain't ugly. It's rearing its head to make us aware of something that we need to be aware of. It's information, right? So if we could just hold it a little lighter, right? Hold it with an open hand and an open heart. Yes, and an open mind. Okay. And just recognize when its presence is taking the lead in something. Okay? So it is totally an invitation for an inner journey. It's an invitation for an inner journey. And that inner journey is about celebrating the divine truth of who and whose we are. So a lot of the sip this week is from the sermon that I gave on Sunday at Rockland Center for Spiritual Living. And the sermon didn't record, right? So that was one of the signs from the universe that, okay, let's do it again. Let's do it again. So if you was at Sunday's sermon, you might have remembered some of the things that I'm getting ready to share again. All right. And if you wasn't, then all right. All right. So we look at the shadow as an opportunity to take an inner journey, and we welcome the shadow with the gift of the inner journey. So yesterday I said I want to share some of the attributes of shadow. So there are different, not attributes, archetypes, right? So there are different types of shadow. So I'm going to share 5 of the archetypes, right? 5 of the archetypes. And there are many, 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 many more, right? So remember, this is just a sip, y'all. This is just a sip. If you want to go deeper, I'm going to share some resources at the end of today's sip if you want to take this even deeper. So these 5 archetypes that I'm going to share is from Parker Palmer's book. It's from Parker Palmer's book, Let Your Life Speak. This is an amazing book. If you don't have it in your library, this is one you really need to have. It is amazing, right? It talks about living life alive, not living an undivided life. Sometimes we don't accept our shadow, and that causes us to live a divided life. We don't want to live a divided life. We want to live an undivided life. We want to live a whole life, right? And this book is a wonderful journey to do that. And he has a whole chapter about the shadow in here and the archetypes. So I'm going to share 5 of the archetypes with you. So Parker says what he calls the shadows, shadow casting monsters. That's what he calls them. Shadow casting monsters. So let's see if you can identify with any of these archetypes. Okay? So the first one, the shadow of insecurity about identity and worth. And so the shadow aspect of this is self-doubt, a lack of worth. So a issue with worthiness. Yes. So self-doubt and self-worth are the archetypes of the attributes of this shadow, right? About identity and worth. Feeling very insecure. And how do you welcome the shadow with the gift of the inner journey if this is your archetype? By knowing that your identity does not depend on the role that you play. So we can celebrate the divine truth that we are individualized expressions of God. So when it rears its head, we can remember that we are individualized expressions of God. And that in of itself is very valuable. It is priceless. It's priceless. So we can ground ourselves in that knowing. So that's 1. All right. Number 2. The shadow of the belief that the universe is a battleground and is hostile. So I have witnessed this shadow. I have seen people show up as this shadow. Everything is something to be defended. Everything is a challenge to them, right? They see the world as just a battle zone, right? They are like, I am going to throw the first punch before someone throws the first punch at me, right? Everything, they see everything as like the enemy out to get them, right? So we can welcome this shadow with the gift of the inner journey, with the insight that the universe is working together for your good. The universe is working together for your good. So when things happen, right? When we're in an upset, we don't have to see it as it's a challenge, right? That someone's out to get me, that they're trying to do something to me. They're trying to set me up. They're talking about me. They're plotting against me, right? We don't have to see that. We don't have to go into that story. We don't have to go into the victim consciousness story. Right? We can welcome the inner journey and apply the divine truth that the universe is working together for my highest good in all things, in all things. So the shadow invites that knowingness again. Yes? All right. We can remember that the reality with a capital R is that no one is out to get you. No one is out to get you. 3. The shadow of fear, especially the fear of the natural chaos of life. Sometimes life is chaotic. Yes, look at 2020. For some folks, 2020 was extremely chaotic, right? But we don't have to say my life, everything that's happening to me is in chaos, right? So we want to organize everything. We want to orchestrate everything. This is the shadow of control. The shadow of control, right? And if anything is not in the order that we want it to be, we can start to feel overwhelmed. That feeling of overwhelm can bubble up, right? And we see everything as a challenge. And then fear sets in, yes? Fear sets in, and this is also the shadow of the fear of success. The fear of success. So we can welcome the gift of this shadow with the inner journey that chaos is usually the precondition of creativity, right? We could celebrate the divine truth that life itself emerged from the void, right? The universe was chaotic. It was chaotic, right? And look at what has emerged from that chaos. From that chaos, we can live in the knowingness that everything is in divine right order. And that is the gift that the shadow of fear can give to us. Yes? Number 4, the shadow of the paradox of the denial of death. This is a good one. You won't let things go. Let me say that again. You won't let things go. Are you this shadow? Are you this shadow? A lot of people are this shadow. You keep resuscitating things. You keep resuscitating things. It's over. It's done. And you want to give it CPR. Right? You want to give it CPR. Let it go. Let it go. We do this in our relationships, especially in our relationships. We know the relationship is over. It is lifeless. And there we are doing compressions, doing heart compressions, trying to bring it back to life. Trying to bring it back to life, right? That is the shadow of the paradox of the denial of death, right? And this is also connected to the fear of failure. You don't want to fail at anything, so you keep bringing it back to life. Keep trying to resuscitate it and bring it back to life. It's time to let it go, right? And so the welcoming the shadow of this gift is to learn something new. Learn something new, right? Allow something that has died to go when it's time for it to go. If it is over, it is over. And this is a hard one, right? This is a hard one. Yes? Think about when you go into your pantry and you take something and it's past due by years, but you still open it up and want to eat it and then wonder why you got sick, right? Let it go. Let it go. And we can celebrate the divine truth, knowing that something new is seeking to emerge through you. But it can't come through if you got all that dead stuff hanging around, right? There's no space for the newness to come through. So your shadow is giving you the gift of letting you know it's over. I am here so you can see that it's over. Yes? All right. And then shadow 5, the archetype for shadow 5 is the shadow of functional atheism. Okay, this is a good one. And I have to confess that this is the shadow archetype that I most identify with. All right? This is the shadow archetype that I most identify with. The shadow of functional atheism. It is the belief that the ultimate responsibility for everything rests with us. It can be unconscious. It could be an unexamined conviction that if anything decent is to happen in the right way, then we got to do it, right? If it's going to happen, we have to be the ones that will make it happen, right? We are the ones that have to make it happen. It is a sense of over and unhealthy responsibility, right? You got the weight of the weight of the world on your shoulders. You got to do it all because no one else knows how to do it, right? No one else knows how to do it right. This was a big one for me, right? And then you impose your will on other people. You tell other people how they should do it, right? They're going to do it, but you want them to do it your way, right? Because, hey, that's the right way, right? And that causes stress in our relationships, right? There's that famous quote, do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? And when my shadow is running the show, she wants to be right. Forget about happiness. No, I want to be right now, right? So that's when I know when my shadow is up. My shadow is up and it's an opportunity, right? It's an opportunity for me to go within, right? And welcome the inner journey of that. To welcome the inner journey. So I want to share. You know what? I want to share it tomorrow. I'm going to share it tomorrow. So that fifth archetype, right? We welcome the shadow with the gift of learning that we don't have to carry it all, that it could be shared with other people. It could be shared with other people. And so we can celebrate the divine truth by liberating ourselves, by setting ourselves free. Go bless yourself. Bless yourself and set yourself free because you can share the load with others, right? And it don't have to be the way you want it. It don't have to be exactly the way you would do it because what? That other person is not you. They're going to do it their way, right? And so we can liberate ourselves and we can empower others. We can empower others to do what is theirs to do. Yes? All right. So I was going to share a story about my shadow as it relates to the functional atheism. And atheism in the sense that you think you got to run everything, right? No. So it is an opportunity for you to free yourself from the sense of responsibility, right? And we celebrate that by empowering others to do what is theirs to do. So tomorrow I will share the story about my shadow and my daughter, one of my girls. All right, so you'll stay tuned tomorrow for that. So what archetype did you identify with? out of the 5? Which ones did you identify with? Was it, let me see. Was it the first one, the shadow of insecurity about identity and worth? Was it number 2, the shadow of the belief that the universe is a battleground and is hostile? Number 3, the shadow of fear. Number 4, the shadow of the paradox of the denial of death. Or number 5, the shadow of the functional atheism. Functional atheism. All right, Nan said, I think I have all 5 of these. So yes, we could identify with all of them or more than one of them, yes, but there's one that is dominant, right? There's a dominant one, and sometimes they change, right? Sometimes we have integrated that shadow aspect of ourselves, and then another one comes out of hiding, right? And then we have the opportunity to integrate that one, to go into the inner journey again, and to celebrate by applying the divine truth of who you are. Tim said number 3, the shadow of fear. Yes, Tim, a lot of us have that shadow, right? We want to organize and orchestrate everything, right? Yes. And everything is chaotic, right? And we have the opportunity to see the chaos as an opportunity to emerge in creativity. So creativity is seeking to be expressed more in you. And Sue said a little bit of each except 2. All right, Sue. So yes. That's wonderful. It's wonderful and it's encouraging to know the shadow that you are projecting, right? Especially when you project your shadow onto other people. So this is a clue that you are projecting your shadow onto other people. If you start talking about somebody and all the things that you don't like about them, right? That is an unacceptable attribute that you have within yourself. It is. And it works the same way. If you are talking about the wonderfulness of somebody, right? That also is an attribute that you are seeing reflected in that other person. That is you. That is you. So we don't pick and choose, oh yeah, I like that part, but I don't like that part, right? It's all of it. We got to take in all of it. We got to accept all of it. We got to acknowledge all of it, right? I remember, when I was like I so admired Oprah, right? And when I was in my grad program to get my degree in spiritual psychology, one of the exercises we had to do was to identify someone that we admire and to identify someone that we don't, right? That we just don't like, right? And so when I was talking about Oprah, one of the things that I admired about her was what a great communicator she is, right? And so someone reflected back to me that you are a good communicator also. And I never saw myself as such, right? I didn't. And so just like I identified that positive attribute, and I don't even like to use positive or negative. It is what it is, right? And then identify something, an attribute in someone that I don't like, right? And an attribute in someone that I didn't like was, I don't know. I can't even think of one right now. But let's just say, this was one that drove me crazy. The attribute of someone interrupting me, right? Being around someone who interrupts, don't let you get finished saying what you want to say, right? And then I had to reflect that I do that too sometimes, right? So they was just reflecting back to me something that I also do, right? So we project, we project, we reflect, we repress, We do all kinds of things, but it's an opportunity for us to integrate, for us to take the inner journey, for us to look at the stories that we are creating about people, places, and things. It is not by accident, y'all, that the Shadow series happened right after the Story series, because our shadow is good at making up stories. It is good about making up stories, about making people wrong, about creating things that are not there, that are not based in anything but what we made up about it, right? Our interpretations, our assumptions. When you find yourself swimming in assumptions, more than likely your shadow is taking the lead. Your shadow has taken the lead, and you need to go catch up to it and look at what it is that it is trying to reveal to you. Yes? All right. So that's where we are today. There are other archetypes. Like I said, this is just a sip, y'all. This is just a sip. Please know that it is not my intention to give you the whole breadth of this huge subject matter, the shadow. This is just a sip. There's so much more that I am not covering here. So if you are interested in taking a deeper dive, Carl Jung is a huge resource that you can tap into. He is the originator of the term, the shadow. So any work by Carl Jung could get you more information. Also, the books that I've been referring to, Owning Your Own Shadow by Robert A. Johnson, Owning Your Own Shadow, okay? And then also, Let Your Life Speak by Parker Palmer. Let Your Life Speak by Parker Palmer. So those 3 resources are a great start. There's many more. And so I want to end with 2 things. You know, we get confirmation so many times of things and we don't pay attention. And so we need to pay attention. And so I know, and I am confirming that this was the divine right time for this series in particular. Because this morning when I was preparing for SIP, I said, ooh, I need a book by Carl Jung to recommend to folks, right? So I have Let Your Life Speak and I have Owning Your Own Shadow, but I need a Carl Jung book. I need one of his books. And I didn't have time to go looking, like, you know, Google and look and do all this research and whatever. And I get a text message right in that moment. That's what I'm thinking. I need to find a resource. And right at that moment, I get a text message. And I'm not going to read the whole text message. I'm just going to give you the pertinent parts. So it's from my friend, a dear friend. We've known each other for years. So he sends me a text message. Good morning. I'm listening to your Jungian explanation of shadow. When you were living in Brooklyn, I used to live in Brooklyn. Hey, Brooklyn. About 20 years ago, there was a pile of books on your block. I riffled through them and I found Jung's book, Analytic Psychology, and it changed my life. You're so right when you say there are no coincidences. My perspective on dreams and analysis has evolved just from visiting you and going through the trash. So someone threw out a bunch of books and he went through the books and found this book by Carl Jung. So that's the book that I'm recommending, y'all. The Analytic Psychology. Analytic Psychology. So that is your 3 books. If you need a resource, the universe always gives us exactly what we need, exactly when we need it, So yes, Pamela, yes, Jung is one of your favorites. Yeah, me too, girls. And his interpretation of dreams, woo, that's a whole nother series, isn't it? A whole nother series. So Believe me when I say we have everything that we need within us, including our shadow, So let's give our shadow some love. Let's shed some light on the shadow. Let's shed some light on the shadow. Let's not beat up our shadow. All right? All right. So tomorrow I will share the story about my shadow and my daughter. I'm also going to share Viola Davis. Oh, if y'all didn't see that 60-minute clip, if y'all didn't see the 60-minute segment with Viola Davis on Sunday, please go check it out. You could just watch the clip of it on YouTube. Yes? All right. So tomorrow I'm going to share some stories. Yes. And then on Thursday, I'm going to give you 5 shadow tools that you can use. 5 shadow tools. Because y'all know I ain't going to give you all this information and then just leave you hanging. No, I'm going to give you some tools that you can use so you can support yourself with your inner journey and celebrate the divine truth that you are. And then on Friday, we're going to wrap it up. On Friday. All right, y'all. So that is where we are right now with the Shadow series. I hope it's been good for you because it's certainly been good for me. And we'll continue it tomorrow. We will continue tomorrow at 10:30. Yes, we will. So we are living life in joy, connected to our yes. Yes, we are. Shadow and all.